The Vancouver Canucks are quietly planning something big as we get a report coming from an NHL insider linking the Vancouver Canucks to the young wild star Marco Rossi as they continue trying to hammer out an extension, and we even get an update from a Minnesota Wild's head reporter on the situation. We're going to break down all this, including the NHL's top 20 list of centers around the league, which is missing one key player on the Vancouver Canucks, which has a lot of fans talking. We're going to break down all these reports on Marco Rossi, this top 20 list, and so much more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you're part of the 59.1% watching this and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, we're trying to reach a goal of 9,000 subscribers, so going down to hit the free button helps a bunch, and in return we'll give you daily updates from all around the Canucks. But with that, let's just hop straight into the top 20 list before we get into the Marco Rossi reports. And we do see the NHL Network put out their top 20 centers from around the league. Now, headlining the list is Connor McDavid, working with down, having Nathan MacKinnon, Leon Draisaitl, Barkov, Crosby, and there's one guy, if you work through all 20, that is not on this list at all, and that is, of course, Canucks' Elias Pettersson. Now, this list is going into their production from last season. Yes, I totally understand this. Pettersson coming off his worst year of his career, 45 points, including 15 goals in an injury-riddled season. Previous to that, 89 points, 102. Pettersson is a very respectable two-way forward in the NHL, and yes, a bit of a down season, but still someone that deserves a nod in the top 20 if this list is breaking down players that are all through the league. Now listen, there's a lot of guys on this list that are deserving of being ahead of Pettersson. The big gripe with Pettersson and with fans is the fact that this down year came as soon as the $11.6 million contract did kick in, but with Pettersson going into next season on year 2 of 8, he is looking for a bounce back, and management is praying a bounce back happens. Now with Pettersson, if he gets back to form, if he can score 80, 90, 100 points again, this list is going to look silly where he will immediately jump back into it. But this feels like a revenge tour from the Canucks, missing the playoffs, Demko and Boeser not making the Olympic camp, going in for Team USA. And now Pettersson, and listen, he probably doesn't care too much about being on this ranking, but this is a Canucks team that's going to want revenge. The turnaround is going to be awesome. And Canucks fans, are you bought in on this team? How many points do you think Pettersson puts up? What do you think the Canucks do next season? Are they a playoff team? Are they a champion? Let me know down in the comments. But with that, let's just hop straight into the report today, which I'm sure everyone clicked on this video for, and that was coming from RG. We seen Murphy put out a report, who's a 20-year reporter throughout the leagues, and he says sources tell RG the Canucks and Kraken have circled back with the Wild on Marco Rossi. Now, we've seen the reports that the Canucks are looking away from Jack Rosvic, that they want to go out to get a center via trade. This came from Thomas Drentz of The Athletic. I did a full video on that just 2 to 3 days ago, so go check on that. But James Murphy comes in to say, both were in a Rossi leading in and the NHL entry draft. And until probably mid-July, and I'm hearing that they've made it clear that if it gets to the point in the next month where contract talks between Rossi and the Wild reach a point of no return, they want to see if it could take to acquire Rossi. Now, we've seen the reports coming out that the Vancouver Canucks reportedly offered the 15th roster player and possibly a prospect to already try to acquire Marco Rossi. And listen, we have a report coming from Minnesota where it makes the situation a little more confusing on what is happening. But with Marco Rossi coming off a career year with the Wild, 60 points, 24 goals going into the playoffs, 3 points in 6 games, while he only was playing just under 12 minutes, where we've seen them kind of stretch the lineup out and put Rossi onto the 4th line. Contract talks have stalled with Rossi, or at least what people are reporting might be picking back up. But Marco Rossi is an interesting name. A lot of Canucks fans don't like the 5'9" frame coming from Marco Rossi, but this is a hell of a player, and if the Canucks can land him, they would need to sign an extension, unless there's more. Now, looking at the 4-year deal projections from ScotiaStat, just under $6 million, the Canucks would have to give a pretty penny to bring in Rossi, and then also pay him even more. Now, going into this, Michael Russo did drop just before recording this, hearing that there's been significant progress towards a potential Marco Rossi signing by the Minnesota Wild in the coming days. As we've been reporting, a bridge deal makes the most sense. Now, this doesn't close the doors on the Canucks from acquiring him. We could see the Minnesota Wild wanting to work out a deal where they can flip him for another roster player, and the Canucks could be in the possibility to get this done. But things are getting interesting, bouncing between the reports of both sides are looking at him, this being Seattle and the Vancouver Canucks. If they can't reach an agreement, the Canucks are quietly trying to build something here behind the scenes to acquire a center, all the way to Russo coming out, who is the top reporter for the Wild, saying that there is progress being made. Listen, the whole situation with Marco Rossi, and I'm not going to cover the Wild side of it, is getting strange. We've seen the reports that both sides were, hey, we're not even close, so let's work on this. Nothing happens. They continue to work. Now the reports are teams being linked. It does get interesting bringing in the young center. Now, is he the quick fix of the future? Possibly. He can be. Still very young, 23, going on 24. Last year with the Wild, just under 47% on the draw, playing a lot of second line center time, 60 points over the span. We've seen the Wild get bounced in the first round, but adding Rossi into this group does make sense for the Canucks, especially if they want to and are hammering home that they need a center going into the season. Now, this trade would give the depth on the Canucks at center so much more. Elias Pettersson, Marco Rossi, Aatu Räty, Teddy Blueger, and Filip Hronek could slide to the wing where you have a deeper lineup. Now, you need to figure out what to do with Linus Karlsson. You could use him as an extra forward. Maybe he moves in and you trade off someone like Drew O'Connor, but the screen that is up right now, all these players at these positions, the Canucks would be over the salary cap of just $9 million. That would be giving Rossi a bridge deal, 2 years at $5 million. If it comes out to be more, the Canucks would have to move more, and that would mean the Canucks would have to move on from a forward in the situation. Listen, these reports are getting a little wild, no pun intended on that, from people saying that Marco Rossi is close. And listen, by people, I mean a top reporter, going all the way to James Murphy saying that these teams are calling in. The big thing is the Vancouver Canucks are quietly building something. They're quietly doing something big. They want to add a center on this team. They're actively calling teams. They're actively looking at all options. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the Vancouver Canucks find the perfect solution, pull the trigger, and the team we know going into next season will be completely shaken up. But what's your guys' thoughts on that going into, maybe I shouldn't say shaken up, but a new center coming in for the team? But what's your guys' thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on the reports? Do you think the Canucks are going to continue pursuing Rossi? Could you see him signing an extension with the Minnesota Wild? If he does sign it, are you fine moving out pieces to bring him in? Let us know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark. Bye, and take care, Canucks fans.